2, 1. Smash Mouth Sports. Here we are. I am your host, Preston Bailey. With me is Cam Vieira in New England. Cam, how you doing this wonderful afternoon? I was about to say, by the way, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Doing well, Preston. Good to be here.
I almost said good weather. I had to stop myself, but it's actually horrific weather. I'm in Tampa. Cam is in New England. Not too far, not too far from Foxborough, not right next door, but not too far. But there is a tornado warning. We had Greg Bedard on from the BostonJournal.com. We really appreciate Greg Bedard with his great takes. He's definitely got the New England blood for sure. I did not sense a lot of objectivity with the Patriots. From talking to him, I got the sense that they could be 12-4. I got the sense that the Patriots could be 12-4 after talking to him. I was starting to question my own beliefs that the Patriots were struggling. But before I go any further, Cam, before I hand off to you, and I want to make sure, by the way, I want to salute the troops.
Absolutely.
Because our last show, we're doing 2 shows. I want to do another show to make sure, because we were crunched for time with the tornado warnings. I want to make sure that today is Veterans Day. We want to support the troops. Sadly, I talked to a few people this week that thought Veterans Day was Monday because of the holiday. No, Veterans Day was not Monday. Veterans Day is today, November 11, 2020. Veterans Day is today. And I want to do this show for the veterans, for the people out there, even during a tornado. Okay, we are literally, I'm getting tornado warnings galore, texting galore, showing up during a tornado. We did this for Greg Bedard. We're doing it for the troops. We're doing it for everybody. I was almost tempted to say, God, you're not gonna knock me off the air today, buddy. That's not gonna happen. So if he's trying to come after me here with this tornado. I really felt like it all day. I'm like, this rain early on was brutal, come hell or high water. So Cam, what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I mean, freedom is not free. And we want to thank everybody who has ever served our armed forces. I saw the president at Arlington today at Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. That was great to see. Thank you to everybody who has served our nation, is serving our nation. We couldn't do this without you. I mean, you put so much on the line for all of us, and we are forever grateful. Thank you all so much.
I agree. Great speech, Cam. By the way, I tip my hat. My hair looks absolutely awful, but I don't even care. I tip my hat to the troops. That's one of the things that they say, by the way. It's become divisive, sadly. Unfortunately, the political conversations has gone off the rails. That's not what this show's about. But what I was always taught, the way I was raised, was not only do you stand and salute, but you also remove your ball cap. So it's not just standing. So, and one of the things that in my opinion, I honestly was not expecting to start the show talking about this. I want to support the troops, but one of the things that, a lot of people really don't realize, it's about respect. So whether you stand or you kneel, we have that right. What I feel, and I understand, we're not going to get derailed. We're not going to go into a different political arena here. But what bothers me is that a lot of people don't understand you have the right in America to stand or to kneel. Okay? So a lot of people, you can, so even if you don't feel that because of social injustice or whatever your feeling is, that things are not going the right way, and things are not perfect. Okay, nothing. We do not live in a perfect society. There is no perfect society. Okay, and let me tell you a little something. I don't get into this too much. My dad was a preacher, and he used to tell people, if you're looking for the perfect church, don't go because you're going to mess it up. Okay, and that's the same thing with the country. Okay, you're not going to find the perfect country because there is no perfect country. So, having said that, let's shut up and talk. No more dribbling. Let's get into it. By the way, it was so funny that Greg Bedard was so triggered by my Tampa Bay Rays hat. I was stunned. That was right out of the gate. I guess he just assumed that I would have on the Patriots hat for the Patriots. I guess he forgot that people outside of New England wear other hats and like other teams. What are your thoughts, Cam?
We haven't forgotten 2008, Preston. That ALCS still hurts to this day. David Price as a rookie. No, I mean, it's all in good fun. We obviously are having a good time. But yeah, us Boston people, as you saw, as a friend of yours in Washington, D.C., as the story you told me, we take our sports very seriously. Very, very seriously up here.
Yes, so I'll tell you what is serious, and I'll tell you right now I'm extremely serious about, is my Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Unfortunately, the people, my Bucs fans, are acting like drunken idiots. They can't even enjoy 6-3, and I have to say, I am proud that the Bucs are 6-3. And having said that, I am not mad at Brady. I'm not mad at the roster. I'm not mad at any player. Okay, I'm not even going to bash Ronald Jones for his stone brick hands. But what I am going to bash is I am going to bash Bruce Arians. Now you're saying, Preston, you're 6-3. You should be happy. Yes, we're 6-3, and I should be happy. And you want to know something? And this is a tip to the hat to New England. If we had Bill Belichick, okay, for my Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if we had Bill Belichick and we lost 38-3, if we had Andy Reid and we lost 38-3, or if we had Mike Tomlin and lost 38-3, I'd say, you know what? I feel confident with a top 5 coach, we can get this ship turned around. I am not confident in Bruce Arians as a. Do I say that? Okay, I'm a big fan. I go by somebody's pedigree more than anybody you know. Me and Cam talk about this all the time. Who are you drafting? Just tell me the school. Did he go to Michigan? Did he go to Ohio State? Did he go to Florida? Did he go to Georgia? He already gets bonus points in my book. Did he go to Boise State? Why did we go to Boise State? Did he go to, some random school you never heard of? Where did Utah State? Where did Carson Wentz go? I forgot. Remind me.
North Dakota State.
Where was it?
North Dakota State.
North Dakota State. For some reason, Iowa. I was thinking Northern Iowa. It's all the same to me. Northern Iowa, North Dakota, Slippery Nut U, whatever the school is, it's a low-rent school. So here is my point and why I'm fired up. The Buccaneers lost 38-3 to the New Orleans Saints at home. Now, the reason I'm pissed off, 2 reasons. Bruce Arians is spouting at the mouth, and does he want to take this microphone? Does Bruce Arians want me to take this microphone down to Raymond James Stadium? Because that's what it feels like. I feel like Bruce Arians, I tell you what, I'll make a trade with Bruce Arians. He hosts this podcast, and I'll coach the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How about that? What do you think about that, Cam? I'll hand him this microphone. I'll take it down to him during a tornado, during a hurricane right now. I'll drive down Dale Mabry Avenue right now, which you've been down, and you've seen our great stadium, okay? And I will hand this microphone to Bruce Arians, and I will smack him in the mouth with this microphone. That's what I want to do right now. That's how fired up I am. And nobody is talking me out of it because I think Bruce Arians is an arrogant a-hole. Okay, I don't even know if I can say that. I'm probably going to get letters and tweets galore from YouTube. Bruce Arians is a bloviated jerk. He has 1 playoff win. 1 as a head coach. He's almost 70 years old. This guy, you ready for this? Are you sitting down there, Cam?
I'm ready.
This guy's the Donald Trump of head coaches without doing anything successful in his life. He is the failed stakes, the failed university, and he's all the bankruptcies of the Donald Trump and none of the wins. Whether you like Donald Trump or not, he is a billionaire. He was the president. Those are 2 huge wins. Bruce Arians doesn't have any wins. He's got 1. He's got 1 playoff win. 1 as a head coach. That's embarrassing. Okay. Let's take a look at some of the coaches in the NFC. I'm not even going to get to the NFC. I'm not even going to get to Bill Belichick's 6 Super Bowls. They're not going to the playoffs. I'm not going to get into Andy Reid's Super Bowl win. I'm not going to get into Harbaugh. Those are coaches that are obviously way better. Or Mike Tomlin. Those are just 4 guys in the AFC that come to mind. Let's talk about the NFC, the teams that he's going to have to go against. Am I confident that Bruce Arians can outcoach Sean Payton? No. I'm not convinced of that. That's one guy that's a Super Bowl champion. Who's another guy that he's going to have to face? Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll is a great coach. Even though they have a dumpster fire for a defense, I'm not confident that Bruce Arians can outcoach Pete Carroll. Number 3, I'm not confident Bruce Arians could outcoach Super Bowl runner-up Sean McVay for the Rams. Do I think the Rams are better than the Bucs? No, I do not. But I'm talking about coaching. We're talking about coaching, right, Cam?
Yes, absolutely.
What are your thoughts on that? What I just said right there?
No, I agree. I mean, you obviously Pete Carroll is a Super Bowl champion, as you just said, as is Sean Payton in New Orleans. He's an out coach. Sean McVay, viewed as one of the great young minds in the game. Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona, another great young mind in the game. Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. We're not even going to get to the NFC. I mean, if you have to face the Eagles, you might have to outcoach Doug Peterson. That's going to be another Super Bowl champion coach. So, yeah, he's going to face a lot of guys here. And I think you're right. I think Tom Brady and him being there has given Bruce Arians an inflated ego. The fact that he thinks now that he has Tom Brady, he can walk around like he's the biggest man in the room. He's not. Tom Brady is. It's one playoff win versus 6 Super Bowl championships. And Bruce Arians has this aura as the quarterback whisperer, and that's all well and good, but he's coached Peyton Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, Andrew Luck, and Carson Palmer. You give me a quarterback whisperer. I could be the quarterback whisperer with those guys. You could be the quarterback whisperer with those guys. That's not him. It's those quarterbacks. They're all talents.
Yeah. I love how, like you said, Carson Palmer, first overall pick. Andrew Luck, first overall pick. Peyton Manning, these are pantheons on top of pantheons. Big Ben, 13th overall pick. So Tom Brady is not a first-round pick, as we know. We know the story, 6th-round pick, 199 overall. So if they're whether it's fair or foul, Bill Belichick gets credit for drafting him because he was the head coach, even though the truth is he respected the dying wishes of one of his assistant coaches and scouts. What's the gentleman's name?
Dick Grapevine.
Yeah. And we've all seen that documentary. That's what it came down to. Honestly, it just came. Well, you know what it came down to? Bill Belichick actually trusting somebody else to do their job. So that's what it came down to. Dumb luck. And unfortunately, Bruce Arians is the turd of the punch bowl right now at the party. That's what he is. He is running this potentially Super Bowl caliber team, this potential Super Bowl caliber season with his antics, with his shenanigans. Let me tell you who Bruce Arians is. Bruce Arians. You know, you went to school with the guy we were talking about last night, UFC fighter guy climbing up the depth charts. What's his name? We hope to have him on the show in a couple weeks.
Randy Costa.
Randy Costa. You know, everybody's got that friend that's your friend, okay, is a UFC fighter or a boxing champion. Yeah, you walk a little bit taller when you go to the bar. The UFC champion, you're like, yeah, his confidence rubs off on you. And you're walking to the bar, you're like, yeah. Get me a shot. Yeah, that's right. Oh, what are you drinking there? Hey, you don't worry about what I'm drinking. I got my UFC buddy. You get overly eager. You get overly bold, knowing full well in hell you would not act like a drunken sailor at the bar, at the party, if you did not have your UFC champion. Tom Brady is your UFC champion. Tom Brady is your Super Bowl champion. Bruce Arians would not be acting like this if he still had Jameis Winston. You're like, oh. And I know, guys, I'm seeing the comments right now like, oh, well, Preston, you're being too harsh on Bruce Arians. Am I? Let's say that there was a coach in the league spouting out at the mouth that had one playoff win for his career as a head coach. Would you listen to a single word he says? I'm asking you, Cam. No. He's bloviating. Okay, let's throw that out. Okay, he's almost 70 years old. He's got one playoff win. One. Okay. So we talked about that. One playoff win. Let's go a step further. Shall we dive a little deeper?
Let's dive deeper.
Shall we risk it for the biscuit? Okay. Let's say that there was an NFL coach in the modern era when interceptions are going down across the board. Guys are throwing 2 and 3 and 4. Elite players are throwing 2 and 3 and 4 or 5 interceptions for the year. Elite players are throwing 30, 35 touchdowns and 5 or 6 picks or better. Okay, the days of throwing 24 touchdowns and getting 24 picks by elite quarterbacks like Brett Favre and Dan Fouts and others, those days are gone. However, there is one coach that infamously had a 30-30 guy in Jameis Winston. Oh, Bruce Arians is so proud to have a 5,000-yard, 30-interception quarterback. 30. I'm not a violent person. 2 a game. I'm not a violent person, but I wanted to punch both Jameis and Bruce Arians in the face last year. 30 interceptions. 30. And the great Tom Brady already has 7. So he's on pace for roughly 13 to 14 interceptions. And I believe, was it 5 of those interceptions are against the Saints. So the problem, and why I don't have confidence, I'm not worried about the blowout loss. It's obvious the Saints had more energy in that game. There's no doubt about it. The Saints were getting disrespected all year long. The Saints, all week long, everybody was talking about the Bucs, the Bucs, the Bucs. Nobody was giving the Saints any credit. Nobody was giving them any credit. And they came to the party. And Cameron Jordan came out of the gate, the very first play, almost sacks Tom Brady, smacks him literally in the face. No penalty called. That was a problem. But I don't like the fact that that game to me was worse than the first game. But it was worse because Bruce Arians did not adjust. Okay? I don't have a problem if Cameron Jordan picks up Ronald Jones, throws him in the third row, knocks Gronkowski off of the ball, and then punches Tristan Wirfs in the face and still sacks Tom Brady. If those chaotic events happen, then I tip my hat to Cameron Jordan as being an all-world beast. However, if the genius, and I'm saying that sarcastically, Bruce Arians, if the genius Bruce says, you know what, Tristan Wirfs struggled last time against Cameron Jordan, let's do it again. And that is exactly what happened. He refused to put Gronk on that side. He refused to put a back or a tight end or another offensive lineman on that side. So that is my problem. So Bruce Arians also, the second point, said, and I sent this out on Twitter, and I'm so glad Pewter Report posted this. I sent this out. We've got some friends at Pewter Report, but it wasn't our buddy Matt. It was one of the other guys, and I'll bring him up in a minute. But he posted a great article breaking down. And I was so fired up when Bruce, I was actively looking on Twitter and everywhere. And I found this article by the Pewter Report. Was Evans really open? Because he wasn't. Okay. Evans caught 4 passes on 64 yards, no touchdowns on 6 targets. So 4 for 6, not bad. However, there was one play where Evans was open. One. And it just so happened to be he broke free because they let him break free, because that happened to be one that was a check down to Leonard Fournette. So he did break free, and if you watch the tape, yes, he did break free. However, the other 9 of the other 10 plays, he was blanketed by Marshawn Lattimore, as he's always blanketed by Marshawn Lattimore. And I have had to really take a deep dive into Mike Evans and really consider, is Mike Evans really elite? Because I've believed for years that he was a top 5, top 6 receiver. He is an elite receiver, top 10, but I'm starting to really question, if we were to trade Mike Evans, would you rather have Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams? Hell, at this stage, Devontae Parker. The fact is, Mike Evans is 6'5". He's 235 pounds. He is big. He is strong, but he's not fast. He's not fast. Tom Brady's style and skill, it's not on risk it for the biscuit, 6'5", hope he gets it. Right, Cam?
Right.
Tell us about that.
I mean, Mike Evans is an all-world talent. I mean, the fact that he's had these 5,000-yard seasons with Mike Glennon and Jameis Winston throwing him the ball and Ryan Fitzpatrick, nobody questions his talent. But you're right. I mean, Marshawn Lattimore absolutely gets the best of him every time you guys play the Saints. Every time. And we talked about this in the past about potentially trading Mike Evans. I think there might be too many cooks in the kitchen with you guys right now between Evans, Godwin, Miller, Gronk, Bray, and now Antonio Brown on top of it. And I know and OJ Howard's hurt, but if he was healthy, he'd be there. There might be too many cooks in the kitchen with this team. You might need to peel someone off.
There is too many cooks in the kitchen. And at the end of the day with receivers, look, it's not like basketball here, okay? It's not like if you've got, okay, we've got 8 great Steph Currys. Yeah, you'd be fine. As long as you have a big man, yeah, that's great. Receivers is the one position where they're drama queens. And I have to be honest, at the beginning of the year, I did not want Antonio Brown because of all the shenanigans. I was then open to them signing Antonio Brown because Evans has had injury problems, because Godwin has had injury problems, Scotty Miller losing O.J. Howard for the season. So I was open to it. But what this showed me is the Bucs are not prepared to handle Antonio Brown in the correct way. And what I mean is Tyler Johnson, the rookie who's had an okay season, he probably deserved more targets. Okay, some of the other guys on the depth chart, Mickens, deserved more targets. So they're feeling slighted. I understand Antonio Brown's pedigree. I understand he is a great player. But at the end of the day, yes, it is true because he did get to skip the line. And I understand the other guys were banged up, so I understand bringing him in. I would not have given him the amount of snaps that they gave him. And I do feel that the Buccaneers were distracted. I noticed it in the pregame. I noticed about 30 guys went over to Antonio Brown right before the kickoff, high-fiving him. You're part of the team. We love you. We love you. Blah, 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 blah. And normally that sounds great. What's wrong with that saying, oh, you love him? I felt there was two teams. There was one team that was worried about the mental health of Antonio Brown. That team was the Buccaneers. Oh, how is Antonio Brown? Is he going to be okay? Is he going to be okay? And everybody was on bubble wrap. Is he going to be okay? Is he going to freeze his feet? Is he going to cut off his hand? Is he going to grow a weird blonde mustache? Is he going to be Mr. Peanut, Mr. Monopoly guy? What is he going to do? That's what the Bucs were worried about. Oh, how many targets is he going to get? If he doesn't get 8 targets, is he going to get upset? And then you got one team, the New Orleans Saints, who, if you want to know the difference between a winning team and a Super Bowl team and a losing team's mentality, as I just gave an example of it, and the winning team says, we've got the best receiver in the league named Michael Thomas. And he's having injury problems, and he's getting in fights with coaches. You know what we're going to do to this elite receiver? We're going to bench him. We are going to bench the best receiver in the league for multiple games with getting in arguments with our coaches. You are going to toe the company line. That is what great coaches and great organizations do. The Bucs are not operating that way. The Bucs are operating, let me tell you this, Cam. The Bucs are operating and has one playoff win in his career. That's how they're operating. They're operating like a team that just threw 30 interceptions last year. That's how this coaching staff is operating. And I'm going to say this right now. It is time, if they lose within the next 2 to 3 weeks, if they lose to Carolina, I am prepared to fire Bruce Arians. And I am not joking. That is not a hot take. I am serious as can be. Cam, tell me your thoughts on that.
I mean, it's obviously a drastic measure, but I mean, you are in a win at all costs window. You have a 2-year window here. And I am a fan of Todd Bowles. I was a fan of him in New York. Sam Darnold's gotten substantially worse since Todd Bowles left him, and he got Adam Gase. I do think Todd Bowles will make a good coach. But the Bruce Arians, he just gets too excited. And I have to ask you, Preston, and I know you were trailing from the jump on Sunday night. In the middle of a rainstorm, to have 4 rushing attempts the entire night, not including the kneel downs. 4. When you have a backfield of Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette, and LaShawn McCoy.
Yep.
Like, what is, and you told me there was a game last year when you played the Saints last year. You only ran the ball 6 or 7 times.
Yes. Early in the season, because we do have Ronald Jones, and Ronald Jones does have stone hands. He can't catch water if he fell out of a boat. That is true with Ronald Jones. He has hands of stone. However, Ronald Jones is a good runner. He can run straight lines. He is an elite athlete. He can run straight lines. Leonard Fournette is an all-world running back. I said it before the season. I'm doubling down. If Leonard Fournette is healthy, he is a top 5 running back in the National Football League all day long. Early in the year, he had 100 and some yards rushing on like 10 carries. Okay, this guy is elite. So we do have Ronald Jones. We do have Leonard Fournette. And I'm going to give the stats here. Tom Brady was 22 for 38, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He was also sacked 3 times. You pointed out to the Buccaneers for the whole game as a team had 5 carries for 8 rushing yards. That includes the kneel down at the end of the game by Blaine Gabbert. Okay. So the point being, the whole game we called 4 running plays. So the whole game we called 38 passes and 4 runs. I don't care what era we are in. And he also, so you want to talk about dubious records? That's Bruce Arians. He didn't, let's go with teams that he coached. Okay, so we're not going to talk about Big Ben. He coached Big Ben, but not as a head coach. So He has coached. Now, head coach, Andrew Luck, head coach, Carson Palmer, head coach, now Tom Brady. Again, the season's not over yet. But of those 3 Titans, 1 playoff win as a head coach. 1. Okay.
With a loaded team in Arizona.
With a loaded team. Okay. That's what we're talking about with Arizona. Loaded team.
And embarrassed the Panthers in that NFC Championship game.
And I was so fired up last night and this morning. I said, you know what? Let me dive a little deeper because most people don't remember this. Most people can't remember what the hell they happened yesterday, much less 5 years ago in the playoffs. And with 2020, seems like 2020 has gone on for about 220 years. We're going back. His one playoff win, he beat Green Bay. Yes, Aaron Rodgers is Green Bay. You could say that's a decent win. They won in overtime. So you won
in the last play.
You won, but you won in overtime because of an interception, because of a bad call. You ready for this? Mike McCarthy. A bad call by Mike McCarthy, who is, in case you forgot, no longer there. And his team is also a dumpster fire. So I decided to go a next level, as I like to do. I don't like to just see ball, get ball as a defensive lineman. I like to deep dive. So I said, everybody knows he has one playoff win that are fans of the Bucs, that deep dive. What happened the next game? Oh, nobody knows. Nobody knows what happened. Oh, I'm glad you asked that question, Cam. What happened the next game? Okay.
They're embarrassed by the Cam Newton Panthers.
They got the brakes beat off of them. They got a Mike Tyson uppercut and a roundhouse kick to the face. They lost 49-15 against the Carolina Panthers. 49-15 in the NFC Championship game. That's embarrassing. 49-15. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, they went to the Super Bowl. They did. And they got smacked around, and they lost 24-10 to the Denver Broncos. So that offensive powerhouse that got 49 points, the offensive powerhouse, they got 49 points. 49 points against Bruce Arians' team, got 10 in the Super Bowl. 10. That's what we're talking about. So that's got me fired up. So, Cam, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, in Bruce Arians, he retired a few years ago. You gotta remember this, folks. He was out of football just 2 years ago in the broadcast booth for CBS. So, because no one hired him. He got fired by the Cardinals, and then no one hired him. He did not get a job for a year until he was hired in Tampa Bay. You're right. That was an embarrassing loss to the Cam Newton Panthers. That was Cam Newton's MVP year, the man who's now my quarterback, if you want to put that in air quotes. But I understand where you're coming from. I don't see a team firing a coach who's 6-3, and I understand that Bears loss was 100% on him, 100% on Bruce Arians, because he got Tom Brady killed in that game. Their play calling at the end of the first half was horrendous. What gets me is the lack of adjustments. Game 1 against New Orleans, Tristan Wirfs was left on an island. Your rookie right tackle against Cameron Jordan, one of the best pass rushers in the league. If Bill Belichick was your coach, you wouldn't have heard from Cameron Jordan, because one thing about him I will say, even though I'm down on him at the moment, and I've always credited Brady more than Belichick, when he faces a Cameron Jordan, a J.J. Watt, Khalil Mack, Aaron Donald, the list goes on, he takes them out of the game. They get double-teamed every snap. He's not going to let that premier pass rusher take over. And then he did it again Sunday night, talking about Bruce Arians. Left his rookie on an island with Cameron Jordan again.
You're right. You're 100% right. And that is my concern. Look, I understand. It's football. Okay, some of these guys are injured. Our Buccaneers team in this last game was relatively healthy. Of all the games of the season, outside of game 1, obviously, our team was relatively healthy. Okay, as healthy as you could be midway through the season, and we got steamrolled 38-3 because of the lack of adjustments. And the other thing I want to point out too, and I do like Todd Bowles. I think Todd Bowles has a lot of upside. Are they going to fire Bruce Arians? No, probably not. My only point is this: the Buccaneers are 6-3. They're at Carolina, which is 3-6. The Bucs are 5-point favorites. I cannot tell you with confidence that I would bet $1,000 that the Bucs would win by 5 or more points. I can't say that. I can't say that I'm willing to risk $1,000, 5 points. I'm not willing to risk $1,000 the Bucs win by 1. That's what I'm saying. The only reason, if the Bucs win this game, it will be because of dumb luck that the coach of Carolina was an idiot for giving the ball to Christian McCaffrey almost 30 times last week in his first game back after missing multiple games. I think that's something that a college amateur coach would do and not a professional coach that has a brain would do. So it'll only be because we beat this Panther team because they don't have Christian McCaffrey. That would be my thoughts on that. Now, so that is the thing with Bruce Arians. He got steamrolled to the playoffs the one time he went, 49-15. That's embarrassing. He has the least amount of carries and rushes in any game in NFL history. What does that say? We're not saying this team ran for 350. That's the most ever, or 400. They ran the least amount of times. I don't care that they ran for 5 times for 8 yards. I don't care if they ran 5 times for negative yards. Coaching, you cannot control what happens on the field. But you telling your team 5 carries for the whole game, including kneel down, that is coaching. I can pin that on coaching because those are play calls. Those are play calls. So, and that is a problem from the top, and that is my point. The last thing I want to get to, we're in the overtime show here. I don't want to get too deep into this, but it is big news. It is breaking news that came across the wire today. The NFL owners, and I don't know if you saw this story, Cam. We talked about it briefly on the way here. NFL owners approve a proposal to incentivize development of minority coaches and executives in the NFL. They will award. Originally, I thought it was 1. It ends up being actually 2 second-round draft picks. 2 for a minority coach that gets hired. So, to set the stage, to keep this simple, if you're an organization that hires a minority coach and they get promoted, you get 2 second-round picks. Cam, what are your thoughts on that?
Preston, I'm all for diversity. I'm all for equal footing, all of that. This is preposterous. You hire the best coaches available. I mean, this is absolutely no should be incentives to hire just a minority coach just because of what he is, the color of his skin, or where he's from. I mean, this is just absolutely preposterous. And I understand we're in tense times in America right now. You hired the best coach available. There's a reason Eric Bieniemy hasn't had a job. People don't think he's very good. There's a reason people like that haven't gotten these jobs. We have only 3 African-American coaches in the league right now and 4 minority as a whole. Ron Rivera is Hispanic, and then obviously the African-American coaches would be Super Bowl champion Mike Tomlin and then Brian Flores and Anthony Lynn.
Yep.
Anthony Lynn was probably on his way to getting fired.
Yep. Now, here's a question. You brought up a lot of good points. Tomlin, Super Bowl champion, well-respected. Anthony Lynn, who probably will get fired. Brian Flores, who's done a great job, and Ron Rivera, minority. He is Hispanic. Now, we were talking about this earlier today, and I find this interesting. By the way, I want to be clear that I'm all for diversity as well. I think that the NFL could do a lot better. My theory, my opinion, is not let's, trick or con or incentivize these owners to hire minority coaches. And what we're talking about is, the word is diversity, the word is minority, but what we're talking about is black coaches. Because there are no Native American coaches in the NFL, not one. There are no Asian coaches in the NFL, but nobody talks about that. There's not a single Native American coach. I agree, with 65, 70% of the league being black, you could make the argument there should be more black coaches. However, there are no Asian coaches in the NFL. There are no Native American coaches in the NFL. Ron Rivera is the one Hispanic coach. So if you look at the percentages, there is more Hispanics in America, as far as a percentage-wise, than the black population. So not to go too deep, but at a certain point, we've got to look at facts here. Over 70% of the people in the United States are white or European, Caucasian descent. So by naturally, there's going to be more white coaches than anybody else. So here is what. And by the way, I have two. I'm going to say 2 more things, and we're going to wrap this up. The first thing that I think of is this. What you're telling me by this specific rule, you're telling me that you only believe another 3, 4, or 5 teams will do this. Because even with your own rule, if there's 32 teams in the league, you're telling me that if every single team hires a minority, there is going to be 64 draft picks in the 3rd round. That's what you're telling me.
Correct.
That this plan has not been thought through intelligently. What this plan tells me is there is no brain power behind this plan. This plan is, we're in sensitive times. We have to act. Everybody's sensitive. Everybody's upset. We came down. as the NFL did. I don't work for the NFL. The people feel we came, they feel. Goodell feels he felt he came down on calling Cap. So he feels he came down on him. So they feel this is an overcorrection. This is an overcorrection, and this is ridiculous, and this is insanity. If this does not solve the problem, if you view, and I say hire the best guy for the job, black, white, I don't care what he is. If he's the best, hire him. And here's another thing. Since we're going down this road, there are no female coaches in the league, white or black or otherwise. Not one. So is this conversation, are we only talking about getting black men 32 for 32? Is that what this is about? We have 32 jobs, and if all 32 black men are head coaches, the world is, everything's perfect? That's what when I read this article, that's what I'm led to believe as a consumer, is if it's 32 for 32, all the problems are solved in the world. 32 guys have become millionaires, and everything is solved. I think that is ridiculous. Cam, what are your thoughts? And I got one last thing, and then we're going to wrap it up.
I mean, not only that, Preston, I think you make a good point. How many openings are there going to be this offseason? The Jets, for sure, Adam Gase is done. Detroit, possibly Matt Patricia. The Chargers, the Falcons, and Texans will be looking for new head coaches, obviously, because they've already fired their head coaches. And off the top of my head, I can't think of many more. I mean, I know you want your coach fired, but I mean, I don't see that.
Which, by the way, would promote Todd Bowles, who is African-American, to the head coaching job. And I want to say one other thing. By the way, okay, so if they do, they have enacted this rule. Not if they have enacted this rule, they could rescind this. I think a lot of this has to do with the social justice that's going on in America right now. Everybody wants to make sure that they're woke and that they're, that nobody gets offended and so on and so forth. They could easily rescind this by the next year's draft. How about the Buccaneers? The Buccaneers are the only NFL organization to hire 2 African-American coaches as a head coach. And we've hired Tony Dungy. We hired Raheem Morris. We also hired
Lovie Smith.
Lovie Smith. So we've hired 3. I don't believe any other team has hired 2 head coaches. Bucs have hired 3. So what does that mean? If we're going down this road, does that mean the Bucs should get 2 first-round draft picks for being progressive? Should the Bucs now? I will co-sign with this if the Bucs get 2 first-round draft picks, because we were the only progressive team in the league. Does that mean that the Bucs hired 2 women coaches and strength and conditioning coach? Should we get 3 first-round draft picks for that? Maybe 4? I mean, how far are we going to take this?
What's the 49ers for Katie Nolan? I mean,
right.
Katie Bowers.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the Bucs hired multiple women. I mean, how far are we going to take this, guys? At a certain point, I understand what the NFL is trying to do. They're trying to make an overcorrection because the narrative, the media narrative, is it's the good old boys. It's 32 Jerry Jones hiring his son or his best friend's son. And yes, there is a lot of that. If I'm a billionaire owner, I'm talking about me. I am going to hire somebody that I am comfortable with. It's not just a white thing or a black thing, somebody that I know. Okay, so if I'm a 70-year-old billionaire, I'm going to hire somebody that's a friend of mine. If I have a daughter, her husband, yes, of course. That's how business works. You don't have to like it. You could say it's unfair. You know what would be to me, and I like to think things, and I'm not afraid to get into the weeds here. What would be more intelligent to do is, instead of worrying about, let's give 2 second-round draft picks. If the New York Jets fire their coach and they hire Jim Caldwell or they hire Eric Bieniemy, you get 2 second-round draft picks. And great. Okay, and then he gets fired after a year for going 2-14. What does that do? Great. You got 2 second-round draft picks, or you have 2 third-rounders. You got a backup tight end, and you got a fat guard that does nothing for your team in the grand scheme of things. You still have Sam Darnold. You still got Joe Flacco. You're still not going anywhere. That doesn't solve the problem. You know what would make more sense, in my opinion, Cam?
What's that?
And I understand this is a dicey issue. How about partnering with banks? How about partner with Chase? How about partner with MBNA and say, you know what we're going to do? If it costs $1 billion to buy a sports team, if it costs $2 billion to buy the Bucs, to buy the Cardinals, to buy the Patriots, how about the next team, the Carolina Panthers? How about we get black ownership? How about that?
No black owner in the league, not one.
There's not one black owner in the league. How about that?
Only one minority, Shaka Khan in Jacksonville.
Right, Shaka Khan. Shaka Khan is an owner. Buffalo Bills, his wife is Asian, so she married a old traditional white 70-year-old billionaire. So she married him, so she's an owner, co-owner as well. But yes,
the Lions are owned by the Ford Harris, and the Bears are owned by George Halas's daughter.
Right. So again, you have daughters of the owner, the father, the grandfather, and so on and so forth. So
I did think about a team that's hired 2 African American head coaches, Preston, if you want it.
Let's hear it.
So, Dennis Green and Leslie Frazier, Minnesota.
And Leslie Green was the head coach for Minnesota?
Yep, Dennis Green and then Leslie Frazier, Minnesota.
How long did I forgot about Leslie Frazier. No, I'm saying, but I said I don't think another team's hired 2. He hired 2, but we Bucs have hired 3.
Correct.
And we should get major bonus points for that. Major bonus points. And we hired women. They haven't hired any women in Minnesota.
Nope.
So 2 things. Number one, my solution is this. I'm about solutions. I'm about solutions. I'm about addressing the problem. I'm not about virtue signaling. I'm not just going to say, it would be very easy for me to just come on and, hit the microphone and say, oh, this is so great. I could be Max Kellerman if I want to. Oh, this is so great. This is, and start crying and flipping and flailing and popping bottles. And that does nothing. And then we get tons of likes, and then everybody gets happy by subscribe to our channel. But that does nothing. It's about making real differences, okay? What there needs to be, how about black ownership? How about that? That solves the problem. The other thing that would help the problem, if you forget this 2 second rounders, 3 second rounders, 4 second rounders, what would be better is if you had a banquet or a party, okay? You have a kickoff party before every draft. So say April 1st, a couple weeks before every draft, you have an NFL party with all 32 owners and their friends and family. And the NFL hosts it. Everybody gets steak and lobster and champagne. And you bring the top 32 African-American coaches at college, at the pros, at all levels. You're saying we're bringing the top 32 coaches. You could bring 32 high school coaches too, for all I care, to get them in the feeder system. You bring 30, 40, or 50 or more African-American coaches from guys that are 20, 21, 22, up to 81, 101. You bring them there and meet the owners. You have a party. It's not, everybody wants to make this all about racism. It's not about racism. It's about comfort level. If you grew up, Jerry Jones, who did he hire? Who was the first person he hired? He hired Jimmy Johnson, who he was college teammates with, who was a great coach. Jerry Jones fired Barry Switzer, who was a Cowboy, or excuse me, not Barry Switzer. He did fire Barry Switzer too, but he fired Tom Landry, who was a legend. Okay? Nobody says Jerry Jones hates old men that wear hats. Okay? Nobody says that. Okay? Oh, Jerry Jones hates old men that wears hats. No, but they're very comfortable saying, oh, Jerry Jones is racist because he's from Arkansas and he talks with the country drawl and this and that and the other. Okay? You align yourself with people that you're comfortable with. It's
Correct.
that simple. If that is racially, that is religious, that is across the boards. So if these coaches are Christian or religious or whatever, and they happen to be white, they have a lot in common with the owner. Yes, if you are hiring somebody, if Eric Bieniemy, if he does not connect with the owner, if he does not connect with Jerry Jones, if he does not connect with Woody Johnson, it's about connecting. That's what it's about. That's what I'm talking about with these parties. I'm talking about a real solution. I'm not talking about virtue signaling. I'm talking about real solutions, Cam. And I know we went long, but these were important topics. It's about Veterans Day. It's about supporting the troops because, I hear a lot of things going on about, race. It's all about race. Those men, they were men. predominantly that stormed Normandy Beach. Okay? They're privileged. They're white. They left their white privilege on the battlefield. Okay? I know that's an inconvenient fact and an inconvenient truth for many of you that are watching this and have stayed on this whole time. Okay? Am I saying that, in a general blanket statement, since we're going to get into this, in my personal opinion, I grew up in a middle-class white family. Did I have it better on average than, say, growing up than maybe LeBron James did in his tough circumstances? Yes. I would trade places with LeBron James in a second. He's got $30 million homes in multiple cities. He's got a great life. We got to see through these white issues, and we got to start treating people as individuals and stop treating people as a group. Oh, you're black, you need to vote this way. You're white, you need to vote this way. You're this, and this, and all these boxes. What are your thoughts, Cam? What's up?
I agree with you. It's about who's best for the job, period. That's what it's about.
Who is best for the job? I'm getting alerts now that we survived the tornado in real life in Tampa. I don't know that we're going to survive the tornado from this podcast because of all the, you're not woke enough, Preston, you're not woke. You're not woke. Okay, I'm real, okay? If there's one thing that I liked that we need to get, that I heard last week in politics, it's not about red states and blue states. It's not about Republican and Democrat, okay? It's about the United States of America, okay? So, and I say that, and I remind people because we've become polarized where, oh, you're kneeling, you're standing, you're this, you're that. This is the United States of America. You can do, within reason, whatever the hell you want to do in America, as long as you're not infringing on somebody else's rights. If you want to start a business, if you want to start a vegan shop, if you want to open up a barbecue shop that sells double bacon cheeseburgers piled to the ceiling next to a vegan shop with vegan piled to the ceiling, if you want plants piled to the ceiling and beans piled to the ceiling, go for it, Jack. Go for it. So like and subscribe. This is America. So just remember, we have free speech in America. And that's the beauty of this platform, is we have free speech. Okay? We have free speech in America. Our founding fathers said it's the First Amendment for a reason. It's not about popular speech. It's not about popular this and popular that and woke and unwoke and this and that and the other. Look, I commend the NFL for trying right. Okay? Is the goal to be right or to get it right? That's the question. Okay? It's not about being right. Everybody wants to be right. I think that you should get it right. So like and subscribe to the channel. Send this out to your friends. Whether you love this video or you hate this video and you want to send these angry messages, that's fine. Just make sure you like and subscribe. So hit me up at Smash TV Radio. Send me your tweets, positive and negative. If you're negative, I might just block you. Maybe I'll let you talk. We'll see how it goes. Cam, I can never remember your Twitter handle. You may have to change it. It's like Cam Vieira Vaulton that fought Tom Brady in 1982. What is your Twitter handle?
My Twitter handle is at Cam in Taunton, Taunton. That's my hometown here in Massachusetts.
Nobody knows where Taunton is. You couldn't find it on the map if you tried. But Cam, a great show. We appreciate the feedback. Hit me at Smash TV Radio. Thanks again. Great show.